In this episode, you will discover how the right people can accelerate your personal growth and why feeling good for just 5 minutes a day is more powerful than you think. Welcome to Personal Development Mastery, the podcast that helps you gain clarity, overcome what holds you back, and take confident next steps towards a more meaningful and aligned life. I'm your host, Dr. Agi Keramidas, a personal development mentor and coach, and this is episode 626. If you are looking to create more consistency in your personal growth journey, this conversation explores how community, accountability, and simple daily habits can help you overcome self-doubt and build lasting momentum. If you are trying to create positive change but find yourself feeling on your own, losing motivation, or feeling like you have to stay positive all the time, then this episode is for you. Let's begin. Today I'm delighted to welcome back for the third time to the show, Andrew Kapp. Andrew, you are a 3-time best-selling author, most prominently known for writing the last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read, that has over 175,000 copies sold and thousands of 5-star reviews on Amazon. Andrew, I will keep my introduction of you very short. It's a real pleasure to have you back. Welcome back. A cordial welcome from me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's I take it as a really high compliment to make a repeated appearance on the podcast that lets me know, hopefully I did well for an audience. So to come back a third time, to be invited back a third time is really fulfilling. So I'm excited wherever we're going to take this conversation, which I probably said last time, but that's what it's all about. So I wonder where we might take our chat, and I wonder where people might glean value from. And I'm really excited.
Mm-hmm. Andrew, what I would like to begin with, it's been 3 years since the last time that we spoke. And through your book and your mentoring and your teaching and people reaching out to you, over these years, I can imagine that you have watched thousands of people or readers to try to apply those ideas in your book over the years. Can you give me a highlight of what was it that you learned from it, from what the people, tried to apply your ideas? Was there something else that you learned as a result of that, as the feedback from the people came?
Yeah, I kind of view it as an athlete in a professional sport. We'll take an NBA player as an example. By the time they entered the NBA, they already understand the game of basketball. They understand how to dribble. They understand how to shoot. They understand how to run plays. They're coachable. All these different tools. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the NBA. Not to compare myself in that way or be, hopefully not sound too egotistical. But where I'm going with this is getting to the NBA is one thing, but then there are the subtleties of what that means to grow into a player who has to learn how to shoot in different angles, how to run completely different plays, how to interact with completely different teammates. But it all comes down to the fact that it's still the game of basketball. And the translation that I'm kind of making here is what I've learned. It hasn't necessarily been new insights. It's been new angles on the same familiar insights, new understandings of people are either going to be successful in these endeavors or not successful in these endeavors based on their own patterns, based on their own doubts, fears, uncertainties, or their certainties, or their confidence, or the wins, or whatever it might be. So what I've kind of picked up over the last few years, hopefully, is just a few more efficient ways or efficient viewpoints of getting somebody over the top if, for whatever reason, they are unfortunately, inadvertently resilient in their in their getting in their own way, so to speak, and not making the most of their manifestational opportunities, let's say.
That's a very good angle to actually keep and bring in this conversation. You talked about the patterns and doubts. I wrote those two words down, and give me a little bit more information on that before I continue and go deeper into that. But tell me about the patterns, the doubts a bit more.
So, well, the patterns and the doubts are technically all the same. They rear their heads in different ways. But so here's a good example. And I want to find the best way of phrasing this. One of the challenges that a lot of people will encounter that I kind of took for granted years ago is always feeling like they have to do it alone. And that's technically true. Not that you have to, but doing it alone is a very useful option, just because it's often difficult to find someone to do this with, someone who both understands you and they're in your corner, and they also understand the law of attraction, or they understand personal development. They understand the human condition. It's hard to find people to do that. But I found it's like, okay, even though that's difficult, if you actually do find those people, once you do that, everything opens up for you. And now all of a sudden, you have the leverage of somebody in your corner. You have the leverage of someone that you can bounce this stuff off of, or share wins, or bolster one another's enthusiasm. I for one, since 2018, every single day, I've been doing a method that I've evolved to name the Buddy Blitz method, where, and I may have already said this on one of our prior interviews. I pull out my phone, I say all the things I'm grateful for, I send it over to him, he sends it over to me. And that's been a very unique relationship because I have not found any other person to do it. However, with that person, it's basically, if I'm so busy and I haven't done it yet, I will no doubt see his message come through, and that's keeping me consistent. That's keeping me excited. That's keeping me enthusiastic. That's keeping me on point with this stuff. So I've just relearned the value of, like, maybe it is something to find someone or a number of people and leverage their energy and also support them in a way that everybody wins. Rising tide raises all ships. That's the biggest insight that I can think of that's really come to me in the past couple of years.
Now, Andrew, that you said that about that message, the practice that you send a message to your friend every day and he does that, a recorded message. You shared that with me last time when we spoke, and I actually implemented that myself and did that practice with a friend of mine that lives on the other end of the world. So we couldn't see each other, physically anyway. It was difficult. So I actually practiced it. And then at some point I brought him to the podcast and we discussed about the practice and what we gained from that practice. I remember, and now I'm digressing, but I think it's very interesting that you mentioned it. I remember there was a phrase that you used last time, and it was that you have like a front row seat to your friend's world and successes and, everything that was happening. And for me and my friend Jamie, who were doing it with, we started initially as a gratitude, exactly the way that you described the practice, but then we evolved it in a way into things, whatever needed to come up. And sometimes there were really some dark things that one wants to externalize and share it with someone they trust so that they can, be heard without necessarily requesting anything from it. So, having said that, which you brought back to my memory, thank you very much for sharing this with me. And I hope that some people that listen to it also implemented it. But for me, and I know my friend Jamie, so I bet for people who have been doing that, especially for a period of time, because it builds roots and becomes deeper, it is a very powerful experience. So uh, my gratitude again, Andrew, for that. That was something I really picked from you last time.
Thank you. And may I just say, I'm really, not that it always has to be this way, but I'm excited to hear that you two organically and intuitively did something different with it. And like it doesn't need changing. However, the two people or the two or more people that are in it, they might need changing to get the best from it. And it sounds like you both, in support of one another, found a way to leverage the fact that you were communicating every day and the fact that you were both on your own path every day to grow in the same direction while free to go in any different direction at the same time. So that's really awesome. The way, to be honest, like this is my true intent for something like that. There's the option of it evolving specific to the people that are doing it in that moment.
Indeed. That is, I think this is very relevant. So I'll bridge it back together to what we started discussing about the role of community, and what I have. I suppose that's what you realized. I have also seen it, and even sometimes when you think of the term personal development, it has that element of me. I'm doing it personally. It is something, based on individual practices. So, was there a point when you started paying more attention to the role of community rather than the one's individual efforts towards this journey?
Yeah, it was actually close to a year ago, where what I love about personal development, where we're all on our own path, helping ourselves, helping people we care about. When you're in it long enough, things just happen. Ideas just occur to you. And you can attribute that to the subconscious mind, or you can attribute it to the universe or the universal intelligence sending you the information. Technically, it's all the same, and I'm not even worried about the source. What I know is that when you are focusing on things improving, really fun ideas come to you. And here I'm just describing something that you took and used in your own way with Jamie, of this text exchange where we're just sending these recorded messages to one another, where sometimes there's too much noise and we wouldn't record something. We would just type it in and we would send it as a text. But it was basically a chain, a thread, like anything in your phone with a conversation with one person. And an idea pops into my mind of, what if there was, like, again, it's been hard for me to find a person, but what if there was a group chat? What if instead of just two people, there were 3 people or 7 people all in this thread where all these cool messages and wins and updates or whatever your purpose is are popping in, and you're even more excited and you're even more inspired, and there's just more energy there. And I thought to myself simultaneously, like, my readers, based on feedback I'm getting from them, they can't even find one person. This random person in New York emailed me, a reader, they can't do it. And that person in California, and that person over in Italy. And what if I just create the space for them to do it, so that everybody's looking? They wouldn't have a phone thread because it's, people don't want to give out their private number. Let me just make a community where people can post on threads instead, so it serves the same purpose. There's an app on their phone, they're good. And I want to be careful how I'm saying this, because I don't want to make this like a sales pitch for my community, but I do want to be accurate and have integrity in where this came from. So it occurred to me, what if this one-on-one conversation became a thread? What if this thread became something for readers who couldn't find somebody? So it just kind of like it came to me. And at that point, I spent a few months, like, I'm like, all right, if I'm going to do this, let me build out, all my content, put my courses, like maybe have it in one place. Let me just not have it one like forum. Let me just have like an all you can eat type of thing where you can use my programs, or you can look at my book bonuses, or you can share with other community members, and you can just have fun. And by the way, this isn't me saying go join my community, even though you're more than welcome. It's me saying whether it's mine or someone else's, find a community, find people to do this with, so that you can kind of experience the magic of this for yourself, and know what it's like to have one or more people in your corner pushing you forward and keeping you consistent, so that things finally come together in a much more seamless way for you.
Two obvious benefits that came to my mind when you were talking about the community was, one, finding inspiration by other people who share things, and allowing that to draw you into, taking some action yourself. The other one was accountability, which I suppose to a large extent it is part of that. So I would like to hear a little bit more about, what someone can gain versus being on their own. So the difference, the additional nudge that one can get on their own journey, whether that is, wanting to use the law of attraction, or personal development, or whatever path of progress that they are on. Let's start with that, and then we will look at the other side of it. But let's start it with the benefits first.
Yeah, so let me give you just an example. I find sometimes, like, the actual example, it'll speak more volumes than a for instance. So, like, one thing I did late last year in the community, and it's called the Law of Attraction VIP Academy, but I just call it the community, is I ran this thing called the Embrace Abundance game, or the Embrace Abundance Challenge. And this, by the way, is not an original idea from me. I think a lot of people listening, they know what it's like to encounter things like, let's play the money spending game, where every day you spend more and more money in your mind and you get yourself to a place of abundance. I gamified that in my community and had a thing where we were alternating calls and threads where I was posting the amount of money and people were sharing what they were, energetically spending it on. And the cool thing about it is, and this was the intent, when you're spending $1 million, everyone can think about what to spend $1 million on. But then when it comes to spend $30 million and you're talking about stuff that you really want, sometimes in a good way, you realize, like, oh, I don't actually need 30 million. I can't even think of something I would buy. But people wanted to play the game. So people ended up being inspired by other ideas people were sharing. When someone says, I'm purchasing a brand new bedroom set, another person's like, oh my God, that never occurred to me. I'm totally stealing your answer right now. And it kind of like grew in that way, where not only were people motivated just to stay in it, just to play the game, but they were giving each other ideas that actually resonated with them. And then that made people excited about coming up with their own creative ideas that other people could, quote unquote, steal. So it became a game within a game, and a support system within the support system of sharing these ideas together that would actually prompt people to feel abundant in and of themselves in their life in a way that they wouldn't otherwise have done if they didn't have those other people, those strangers for the most part, giving these really cool ideas and perspectives based on their own life.
Mm-hmm. This embrace abundance game that you said, actually I believe I read it in Esther Hicks' book when I read it, and I tried that for myself, so I can really testify what you said. And way before I reached the millions, even in the after some number of thousands, I completely ran out of ideas. So I thought, there is nothing else I can spend. I have used up all my ideas, and I realized, with what you just shared about the others sharing other ideas, that this allows one to, expand our imagination, expand our ability to perceive things, because if we can't perceive it, then we can't conceive it. So this way will expand our ability to, look bigger, or go out of one's internal limitations in one's mind that we can't get out of it because we don't even know that we are limited inside there. So I don't know if you want to add anything to this.
Yeah, well, I don't want to speak to your experience, but I know in the past when I've encountered that roadblock, it stopped me from completing the game. Because if I couldn't think of something, it's like, okay, if I can't think of what to spend $15 million on today, and I know tomorrow, I mean, my unique thing was like my unique spin was there would be a money spending game and a like a blank day because I wanted to build in the experience of money not coming in a certain day, coupled with the certainty that money was coming tomorrow. To mirror the experience of people where if they weren't getting money in, their vibration's still used to expecting something around the corner, so they get excited rather than frustrated. So, but like a traditional way is like you just spend it day after day after day. And for me, it's like if I couldn't figure out how to spend $15 million that day and then into like 17 million tomorrow, I wouldn't play the next day because like, well, if I can't think about spend 15 million on, what am I going to do about 17 million and then 20 million and then whatever amounts are coming towards me? So it really becomes a thing where the ideas don't just inspire you, they keep you on track. This a community of people. And again, it could just be in your own, like if you have friends that you can do this on your phone in your own thread, they keep you on track. And what's really cool is I've not done this yet in my community. And money is the obvious game to play because everybody wants more money. But what if one day I do an embrace love game or embrace romance game? And instead, people are coming up with wonderfully romantic first date ideas. And because they have all these different perspectives, they're getting all these wonderful ideas from other people, getting them more aligned with being a romantic partner with someone that they're truly in love with. So this thing spreads across categories of life and challenges we face and all these different things. And the sky becomes the limit in how you can leverage personal friends, group threads, communities, or whatever it might be, the ideas and energies and intentions of other people in such a way that it resonates and it doesn't interfere with you, but instead bolsters what you were doing for yourself.
And others, when you were talking about a different game that will involve love, another idea that came to my mind at the time was service, ideas of how I can be of service to others, because there are countless ways that one can, offer their gifts and improve someone else's life one way or the other. It can be as simple as giving someone a smile, but there are so many ways. So that's also another, variation, perhaps.
Yeah, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so you'll. But I know before we hit the record button, the expressions I was playing with and throwing at you, from my own perspective, was to be either selflessly selfish or selfishly selfless, and the idea being, when you do for others, you do for yourself. Meaning, when you're of service to others. Me personally, when I'm of service to others, I like the idea of knowing that I am going to feel good from this. I'm going to get something out of it rather than feeling bad, like, oh, I shouldn't be benefiting at all. It should only be about the other person. I instead embrace my human nature and say, well, no, actually, the more motivated I am to feel good about this, the better of a job and the better service I will give the person in whatever context we're talking about. So again, it becomes a thing where if you're talking about community, whether it's law of attraction or some other aspect of self-improvement, you have the opportunity to be, again, I don't know which one makes more sense even for myself, but you have the opportunity to be even more selfishly selfless or selflessly selfish, because either way, like I said before we hit the record button, a rising tide raises all ships. It's always a win-win-win-win-win situation. Everybody benefits. When, at least in my humble opinion, when you have that perspective and you don't feel bad about feeling good about what you get out of helping somebody else.
Yeah, it's a very nice play on words that you did, and I think something that many forget sometimes or tend to forget is it is our human nature to give, and when we give, we receive an inner satisfaction, something that, many times the person who gives feels even better than the person who receives something, because they realize that with what they've done, they offered something to the other person. It could be, a shift in their mood for that day. It could be, there are so many examples, and that feels good. We feel good. By benefiting the other person, that's something that, it's useful for one to keep it in mind, because it can be forgotten from time to time that we are all one. If I help you, I help myself. By definition, it is good for me when I do good for you.
Yeah, it's a wonderful dynamic, and the beauty of it is this is free to all. This is available to all. All you really need is to make the choice to do this, and even just experiment with being of service to others, and just see what you get out of it, and do something that's within reason to yourself. Like, don't do something. Well, honestly, do whatever you want. My perspective is never to go too far out of my comfort zone, but instead just to do what can I do to experiment with this, to find out for myself if this is something that resonates with me. Mm-hmm. And I do know from a lot of experience that, at least for me, my self-worth is always enhanced through my service to others. And it's a fine line. Just so we're all clear, I don't get like an egotistical boost out of this. I don't feel like I'm above people. I don't feel like I'm the greatest thing going. It's not about that. It's just about feeling good and feeling confident, and of just like I'm making a contribution, and that's something to be proud of, not conceited about, and it's something very easy to feel good about.
And I will bring something that we discussed previously on our previous encounters, that it is our choice to do that at any given moment. It is not the external events or anything else. Feeling good now is our choice, and also, I think, a prerequisite for receiving good things.
Yeah. And the question of whether it's easy or not, it is easy, but some people make it more difficult because they put too much pressure on themselves. They interpret something they read out of a book or hear on a podcast or watch in a video that feeling good means you have to be absolutely over the moon ecstatic about something. Mm-hmm. And that's certainly a nice thing, but when you view it as a requirement, you put it out on a pedestal and you automatically put it out of reach for yourself. Whereas just feeling kind of good is more than enough, and it becomes the gateway to feeling wonderful. And it becomes more of a natural thing that when you feel over the moon ecstatic, it happened organically. It wasn't something that you had to fake or force. And in the meantime, all those more subtle moments of feeling good, they weren't steps that you had to take to get there so that you could finally benefit. Those were wins in and of themselves. Mm-hmm. And even in the subtle positive feelings, you are already resonating with what you want in terms of the manifestations, in terms of your life, in terms of everything. You can just feel kind of good, and really good things are suddenly accessible to you. Energetically first, physically after that.
Mm-hmm. And I think when we discussed about the feeling a bit good rather than, elated or ecstatic, I think the 51% number was mentioned. As long as you are even 51% good, you are more feeling good than feeling bad. So you can start even from that very, very achievable, I think, level of the 51%.
Yeah. And, we briefly mentioned Abraham Hicks a few minutes ago. I mean, their perspective is which I tend to agree with, is the universe is already in a flow of abundance by default. So technically, the real standard is just don't feel bad. Because even keel, whether we want to call it 50%, 51%, whatever it might be, you're still being guided and pulled toward good things. Just don't feel bad. It's it's a wonderfully easy standard, but then people are like, well, now I feel bad about feeling bad. Now I'm worried every time I feel bad. To which I remind people, Good feelings, positive emotions are hundreds, if not thousands of times more powerful than negative ones. And I put out a video on YouTube last year about this, like the math of manifestation, where I guessed on the number. I mean, we have to give me a little, because different studies say different things. But if good feelings are thousands of times more powerful than bad feelings, let's lower the bar and say, let's just say that good feelings are 300 times as powerful. By that metric, if you do the math, all you have to do is feel good for 5 minutes a day. And if you feel good, the 23 hours and 55 minutes, if you feel bad, the 23 hours and 55 minutes out of the day for the rest of the day, which won't happen because you're sleeping for at least 6 or 8 hours. But just those 5 minutes a day have created more momentum than the negative can hurt you with, which is why I've always been such a proponent. And I've said it more and more over the years of feeling good while thinking about what you have or what you want or both for even just 5 minutes a day, because the math of manifestation backs up that will be more than enough to move you in the right direction.
And that's a great reminder, actually, that I'm glad that you brought that up, and how 5 minutes, and that changes very much the math. Earlier I said 51%, but I think 5 minutes in 24 hours, the percentage is minuscule of what is, adequate for one to do in order to, perhaps shift things for themselves.
Yeah. And you began the interview along the lines of, new insights and this and that, and what other people may not. And I said what other people might not realize. Nothing's new under the sun. We keep finding more creative ways of getting in our own way. The biggest way that we get in our own way is simply not realizing these simple truths. But if we could rest in the knowledge and certainty and gratitude of the fact that you only need to feel good for a few minutes a day, we suddenly realize the gift that we are given in every day that we wake up, because it's this gift of opportunity to feel even just a little good in spite of whatever's going on in your life. And then through that, inviting things to go well. And then taking it back to our topic of community, when you have a community or you have a group text or just one person that that you can count on, and that inspires you to make yourself accountable to them so that they can count on you, that keeps you in the game, so to speak. That keeps you happy. That keeps you excited. That keeps you consistent. And then everything comes from there. Everything just happens on its own.
And yeah, I will also reiterate the power that a community or some people of similar idea, or a friend, as we were saying earlier, or this kind of the environment, I will put it generally, how important it is to accelerate the trajectory, change the trajectory. There's so many benefits that we could be talking for way much longer about this particular element. So I'm really glad that we explored it in a way, and hopefully gave some insight, or perhaps some spark of motivation for someone watching us right now or listening to us to actually do something with it. Because I think for me, it's always my intention for every episode that I do to influence someone watching or listening to take some action to improve their life, to inspire some positive change. It's never about theory, and as interesting as theory is, I'm very intellectual person, so I enjoy my theory, but I also understand very much that theory without application is useless. So I'm very glad that we shared this, and I hope that it has been of value to someone listening right now or watching us.
Yeah, I mirror your sentiments, and to date myself a little bit, I remember hearing interviews before podcasts existed, and I'd get CDs or whatever, and some interviews where someone had a lot to share, I might get 20 ideas. In other interviews, I might only get 2 or 3. But whether it was 2 or 3 or 20, if there's something that strikes someone listening right now as exciting them, I'd say latch on to that and run with it and see where it takes you. Because if you're excited by the idea, there's something within you that has a recognition that it is useful for you and that it can get you really far. So just want to encourage people, whatever ideas they may have gotten from what either of us have shared today, to play around and see what they do with it.
Definitely, definitely, Andrew. And having said that, also, where can one find find you and the community that you talked about?
Yeah, well, really easy link is andrewkap.com. Last name is spelled KAP, and that takes you to everywhere. It takes you to my books, my YouTube channel, a link to check out my Law of Attraction VIP Academy. It's your one-stop shop. The books obviously go to Amazon in the US market. So you'll probably, like for any books, you'll want to go to your local Amazon, but at least you'll know the titles. But most importantly, it does have a link to the Law of Attraction VIP Academy. And for people that don't want to pull out their wallet, but want to keep getting value, my YouTube channel's there, which is always free. So wherever you go on andrewkap.com, it's just my intention that you are served in some way, shape, or form, and that you can really benefit. And again, thank you so much for having me, for inviting me for a third time. Like I said, I take it as a huge compliment. And I'm really grateful to be able to share these ideas with your audience.
It's my real pleasure. And since you mentioned that now, I have to disclose, in a way, not that it's a secret, but I have to share that our first conversation we had about your book, the last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read, it still is, after all these years, one of the most downloaded, if not the most. I don't remember, it was in the top 3 somewhere last time I looked of the podcast. So it is obviously something that people would like to hear more about. They found it resonating, or any other reason. So having said that, and before I close off and we conclude, there was one more question that I was very curious to hear, and that is more, from your own personal insights as Andrew, all these years looking at your journey since you wrote and published the last Law of Attraction book that you'll ever need to read. Is there something that you have changed your mind about after this time?
So I'm really excited to say no. and the reason I'm so excited is because, like you said at the beginning, it sold 175,000 copies so far. I'd feel silly. I feel really bad if I was wrong about it. And again, I could be wrong, but in my experience, there's nothing I disagree with yet. So I'm grateful to say that the message in that book still mirrors everything about how I view and engage in my own life to this day. Mm-hmm. And I'm so grateful for that.
Andrew, I'm very happy to hear that. And actually it is, I was very intrigued to see what you might answer to that question. And I'm very happy to hear your the level of, certainty and conviction that your answer brought. I want to thank you very much for this third conversation that we had. I want to wish you all the very best with everything that you do and your role in, helping others elevate themselves. You use the phrase that the rising tide rises all boats, and I so much agree with that phrase. It's nature, and we need to remember that. I would leave it to you for any parting words and any last message to someone listening or watching us now, Andrew.
Yeah, well, a thank you again to you for inviting me on, and a thank you for everyone for listening. And none of this has to be hard. And we spoke about community today. If for some reason you're not inspired to go in that direction, all I would say is just pick a manifesting method just around gratitude. I got plenty for free on YouTube, and just experiment with it if you haven't already, and just see where it goes. It won't cost you a dime to go on YouTube and try it. And I keep my books pretty affordable also. So either way, there's nothing to lose and everything to gain by giving yourself permission to experiment with feeling good for a few minutes a day with these manifesting methods, regardless of any experience you have with the law of attraction in the past.
Thank you for listening to this conversation with Andrew Kapp. I hope it has given you a new perspective on the power of community and how feeling good, even for just a few minutes a day, can support your growth and transformation. One practical action to take from today's conversation is to find someone who can support your personal growth journey and create a simple daily practice together, such as sharing gratitude or wins. By building this accountability and connection, you will stay consistent and create momentum with greater ease. Join us every Monday for in-depth conversations and every Thursday for shorter solo episodes with insights and tools you can use. If you appreciate what we're doing here, the simple, quick favor I'm asking of you is to click the subscribe button. Until next time, stand out, don't fit in,